I don't know if I'll get through the rest of this Tortured Poets Department review. I will say that the second half of this album is a lot more involved and deep than the first half. Like, you know, it gets into the thick of the mud. You know, so Taylor really shows her lyrical prowess because, you know, she wants you to know like all of it, you know, everything about this stuff that keeps people awake at night. So Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. So she's saying, if you want to break my cold, cold heart, say I loved you the way that you are. So like they're talking about like, okay, she and this other person are deeply wondering, you know, so like she was too impaired by her youth and going through the motions to really get like the gravity of it all and what was important in her past. So like she was pretending in her life that everything, you know, her pain and hurt from this broken relationship didn't affect her. So like she made reactionary decisions, and she's like, this other person's making reactionary decisions too, you know, but with us, you know, we tried to force it and it just didn't happen. You know, but it would have been cool in theory, right? So like she still wonders, and you know, she feels the gravity of the love. Like she feels a lot just through knowing what she's lost. How did it end? So this is a really big song, a really good song. It's a kind of song on a movie soundtrack kind of song. So yeah, so she's talking about how other people are talking about her love like it's sensational, like they just have to know how it ends just to get their gossip in. But you know, they were blind to unseen circumstances, and you know, they were the victim of interlopers' glances, and you know, all of those people have their husbands and all these things they knew they would have when they grew up with, and they don't have like all of the, you know, crazy pain and deepness and all of that stuff. They say, or she says, those people are smug because they know they can trust them, and feverishly calling their cousins. Like they have like this ecosystem set up that they, you know, don't, well, they can take it for granted, but other people would see that as, you know, kind of remarkable to have. If they had that, they would think it was remarkable. So yeah, so it's saying like she genuinely wants to know how it ends because it would give her resolve, whereas other people would just be, you know, snippy. So high school's the next song. So she's talking about, you know, a love like it's the first love. Like she has this like heavenly thing where she can't help but smile. She's smiling with her soul, and we can assume this is about Travis Kelce. And they're watching American Pie and not Loser. They're watching the Jason Biggs movie that has the humor in it. All right, so yeah, so she's talking about it feels ultimate, you know, marry, kiss, or kill me. Like it feels ultimate. She has, you know, this, you know, feeling like it can all end, but she's happy. We want to say that. She goes, you know how to ball, I know Aristotle. Like, yeah. This is everything to her. And she's saying this person is really, really funny. So instead of getting high and drunk on substances, she's taking in the jokes and wanting to be there. So yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Definitely a top 3 in my opinion for this album. I hate it here. So this is saying someone's her eternal constellation prize. And she was a debutante in another life, and she's kind of a debutante in this life too. So yeah, I read about it in a book when I was a precocious child. And then in another part in this album, she says, sometimes precocious children don't grow up. Um, but yeah, um, how she wanted to like run away, and she idolized this time she doesn't live in, but it would be exactly like it is now because times aren't the ideals. So yeah. Yeah, this is the song where she talks about going to a secret garden in her mind, um, and how she'd rather be in the secret garden that she has a key to than in this place she hates, and that she hates it where she is. Okay. Um, Next song, Thank You, Amy. So in this song, she says F you, Amy, a few times, but she says Amy pushed her down at school, and Amy, they basically built a statue around Amy, and, the people thought that what Amy was doing and saying was important, but she was just tearing people down. And Taylor's like, I was building something. I knew I'd be something one day, and because of you, I went further. While you were throwing punches, I was working on the dream, Amy, and I have you to thank for that. And her mom is a wonderful person that everyone recognizes for her wonderfulness, but her mom hates Amy. Amy, stomped all over her and wrote bad things about her in the paper. And so, yeah. It's saying that everyone knows who the real heroes and villains are, and no one can take Taylor's legacy away, because Taylor has a legacy. But she wonders, like, would I have this if you never did what you did? So yeah, it was very deep to Taylor. She was bullied immensely in this Nashville school, and they were bullied worse than what I ever hear about in my town for the most part. So I look in people's windows as just talking about like a person just looking, trying to see if there's someone they know in these windows. And yeah, at one point she says, sometimes I look like I'm a deranged weirdo. She's saying she tilts her head and, does all these, because she wants to really be in the window. She wants to really be a part, but she doesn't really have a reason to stop. So the next one, The Prophecy. So thought I caught lightning at a ball. So like they built something around something they thought was like, mind blowing. And she says, I got cursed like Eve got bitten. Oh, was it a punishment? And she just doesn't want to, go through with this thing that isn't what she thought. A lesser woman would have lost hope. A greater woman wouldn't beg. But she knows this is the prophecy. So there's cards on the table. It's not moving very fast. Poison blood from the wound of a prick. So she got bitten, but she still dreams of him. Yeah, and she doesn't want to sound like, petulant or an infant. She wants everyone to know it's a thing, like a really big thing, a big deal. But even statues crumble if they're made to wait. I'm so afraid I sealed my fate, no sign of soulmates. So this was like all of these analogies to her. I'm just a paperweight in shades of grage. So grage is like gray and beige. It's like a middle color. So we learned a new word today. It was grage. She doesn't care what she gets. She just wants belonging. She wants the familiar feeling of a lover's touch. And that's how much the prophecy meant to her. Okay, so we have like 5 more songs. So the next one is Cassandra. So this one sounds like there's like some kind of like satanic rituals So, like, Cassandra was the one that died first because she feared the worst. So, like, she's talking about strength and hiding certain things. When the first stone's thrown, they're screaming, and they're raging in the streets, and, they want blood. But when the truth comes out, yeah, no one's talking. Yeah, everything's quiet. Like, there's no real restoration to the people that suffer from their violence. And she says she suffered from those people. And she says, what doesn't kill you makes you aware. What happens if it becomes who you are? So yeah, not wanting to communicate that way, but understanding, feelings have to come out. Sometimes healing from the residuals, like, we don't really like what it brings out of us, but there's, evil stuff there, and we have to cleanse it and wash it away. Patching up the cracks, she talks about that. But she, like, when she's saying they killed Cassandra first, I think she's talking about how deep it is and how much damage it can do. And, like, if you're afraid, like, you can't really do anything about this kind of violence. So yeah, talking about the idea of witchiness and, people, and embracing the divine feminine, I think, is kind of in the undertone somewhere. So the next song is Peter. So Peter was a leader, and he said that when he grew up, he was going to come get her, but he never grew up. And she waited, and she wanted to be in the happiness of, like, they were both young once, they had promises, and now she's like, fuck you, Peter, you're a little